Welcome to Sensational SEL practices. I'm so excited that you are here with us, either live or watching it on the YouTube channel. If you are watching it on the YouTube channel, right under the video is where you can find the resources for today. Sometimes you have to click show more and you'll see that link. You will not get a certificate if you're watching it on YouTube, but that's okay because you still get the knowledge. So who am I? You might say, are you our presenter? No, I am not, but I am your host, Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am the founder, CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting. And these are all of the amazing ways that you can find me on Twitter at Educator Alex, Facebook, you're on my YouTube channel, or whatever products are sold. I don't know, but I'm on educatoralexander.com. You can find me there. All right, some webinars that are coming up. This month is redonkulous. Every single weekend, we have a webinar in May. So starting with next week, engaging families in a socially distanced world. So go ahead and sign up for that. Then we have inclusive collections, talking about library collections. But the thing is anybody who wants to talk about serving diverse populations, this is for you. Then we have Tanya coming back for the last one in this series. We've done 1 in November last year and then 5 this year. And this is going to be that movement and meditation. Go ahead and put your workout clothes on so we can do some movement and meditation for next time, getting you ready to go into the summer with those skills. And then we have TGIF. Thank Google is free. Jamming with Jamboy. I'm just in the mood to sing today. So one every single weekend in May. And then we hop into June, amplifying thinking routines. Then we have the Leadership Academy. So I just want to stop just for a second. This is hosted by the Louisiana Educators of Color Collective. It's a quote unquote new group. We've been meeting for about a year now, but it's a new group and we're on Twitter now, and we wanted to kind of come out with a bang, and we are holding a Leadership Academy. So with the Leadership Academy, it is open to any and everyone who is either already an educational leader or who's interested in becoming an educational leader. We're going to have sessions throughout the day from 9 to 3:30, and you can come and go. Some sessions may be for you, some may not, but everyone is welcome and it's free. So you can go and sign up. Of course, that's on the website. Then we have Virtual Camp Apple is back. So definitely save the date. Awesome, just games and prizes and of course sessions. So completely free. Sign up for that. Then we have Sarah Kiefer coming back to you. You know, last summer she did level 1 Google tools. Now she's leveling up. I was trying to do the song from the video game, but that's okay. We'll be all right. So leveling up with Google tools. Sign up for all those different sessions. Inclusion tech hacks, because of course we want to teach each and every one of our students in July. Then July 17, creating your digital library. Then we have Ed Change Global. It is back, the original 24-hour virtual conference. So we are still accepting applications to present at that one too. So definitely go to edchangeglobal.com, or of course you can just go to my website and click on it. Financial literacy for educators, July 31st, before you hop back into the school year. Let's get our money right. Then we have back to school with Bunsey. August 21st, we have infusing digital reading and writing tools in the remote, blended, or face-to-face classroom. Dr. Hines ain't playing, and that's October 2nd. And that's where we end for this year so far, but we have some more webinars that we are planning. Woo, woo. So what we are going to do right now is get into these SEL practices.
Good morning, y'all. Let's give it up for Desiree and this Saturday morning hosting. Boys today in the chat, Desiree, they were like, what kind of coffee you drinking? I love it. she was like that when I hopped on. We talked on the phone. So thank you for being sensational this morning. And hello, everyone. I see New Orleans. Hey, Dr. Jackson is on. And Desiree, I also want to acknowledge my program director. The eye care program director, Miss Erin Pusho Bradford, is also on the call. So she'll be able to assist with some of these great MTSS questions that we may have come up. And I love her as a friend and as a director. And she showed up this morning for some extra information. So she's our special guest. So Desiree, you ready to help me out with everything?
Getting ready. I'm ready.
Yes. So sensational social emotional learning this morning. I think it's right on time. Educator Alexander, thank you for having me for months on your platform. And so again, I'm Tanya Chapman Griffin, a licensed prevention professional with the eye care program in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system. And so we're going to have a good time this morning. It is a lot of information, so we'll be moving, but if anytime you have any questions or concerns, put it in the chat. Desiree is going to be watching that to assist me with any questions or concerns. And so again, if you've been with us for months, you know that I'm an eye care prevention specialist with the eye care program. We are one of the only programs that I know of in the nation that focuses on prevention education with a multi-tiered system. I'm also a certified Zumba fitness instructor and a certified work dance instructor, hence where Curvy Girl Dance and Fitness has been born. So follow us on all those avenues. Mother and wife, and I have two small girls, Layla and Lennox Griffin, 6 and 8 years old. So having social emotional learning, especially right now, is very, very beneficial to my family and near and dear to my heart. So let's talk a little bit about the eye care program that I mentioned. Eye care, specific to East Baton Rouge Parish Schools in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, provides prevention education in the areas of alcohol, other drugs, and violence prevention to students and families within our parish and the community. So we service the school, we support parents, we support staff, as well as community members and partnerships. Our program director, Erin, actually devised the 21st century mission statement to, I guess, add coping strategies, trauma-informed care, as well as technology, providing resources and trainings and evidence-based prevention education. So this was actually done before we had the pandemic. And so I think it's right on time when we look at trauma, being more informed about trauma and social emotional learning and how we can do more in the classroom as a system as a whole. So our objectives for today, Dr. Jackson, you're going to love these objectives. We're going to describe social and emotional learning and find out why it's beneficial to school settings, highlight SEL research and advances, protective factors in academic success, explain multi-tier systems and supports, and identify support interventions, discuss SEL and parenting collaborative efforts to benefit student success. We talked a little bit about that last time, Desiree, and so we're going to go deeper into that. We're going to review climate and culture building, and then review self-care through identifying SEL for the educator. So in my research, I found that it is not just beneficial to have SEL for students, but also an SEL practice for us as educators. And so we'll talk about that in some self-care. Love this quote. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle. Put in the chat for me what that means to you. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Please put in the chat for me what that means to you. And Desiree, please read for me if you see it come up.
Sure will.
Thank you. And so while I have you, what does that mean to you?
Putting me on the spot.
I did. I did.
Well, I think, it's not about, even though we teach content, we actually teach people, right? We teach humans. So that is not 100% about the content we teach. It's about the people we teach.
Yeah, I love that you said the word human, because that's going to come up a little bit later, where one of the major practices is to build trust and relationships. And in order to do that, you have to show yourself as a human and then be able to recognize that our students are human too. So I love that you use that word. I feel like you looked at my presentation. Did you do that? And has anybody put anything in the chat yet?
Nothing in the chat as of yet.
Okay, you all don't be shy. We're going to move on, but feel free to add to that. Okay, so here we have sensational. The definition is something extraordinary, attracts interest, something exceptionally good. And so I put these towels here because I love that color. It's just so feng shui, like my favorite plant I always have by me when I present with you all. And to me, it is a circular shape. It's continuing. And I look at that and I think about how soft the towel is, if it's washed in Gain pods or something smelling really good, how that would make me feel. And so when we think about sensational, I think about senses. I think about smelling, touching, tasting, hearing, and seeing, and how that actually draws us back to being more mindful, more aware to the present moment. And so Desiree, when you said the word human, again, in order to be effective educators, we have to be creative. We have to be extraordinary. We don't get breaks. We're here on a Saturday morning, not because we're getting paid or we get any extra credit for it, but because we want to be sensational educators. But we also want to encourage our students to be sensational in everything that they do as well. And to remind them that it is possible for them to do that, even in the midst of trauma and in a pandemic. And so sensational SEL today. All right, so here we have some multi-tier system support framework. Thank you, Erin, for diving deep with me in this. So we have multiple tiers of instruction, intervention, and support. Before we start to look at SEL, right, we have to think about the larger umbrella of what SEL is a part of. It's a part of multi-tiered systems that will benefit students not only academically and behaviorally, but also holistically in a wellness capacity. All right. And if the chat comes up, let me know, Desiree. I don't want to miss anybody. All right. So
we did have some people that responded to your last question.
Okay.
Inky says is you need to emotionally attach to the students so they feel safe in your classroom. They trust that whatever answers they give is okay if they're right or wrong. Nicole says we are whole individuals with many parts and we need to build a whole person. I just see Maslow, meet all the needs. Janice says connecting with the student's heart before connecting academically in order to build trust.
Yes. Oh, phenomenal answers. I think all of y'all were in my PowerPoint. And we're going to cover some of those things in detail. And so I appreciate you sharing those with me. And so anything else comes up, put in the chat. Desiree is going to acknowledge those for us. So with multi-tier systems, multiple tiers of instruction, intervention, and support that is continual. It says includes learning and standards, behavioral expectations, increasing levels of intensity, right? Problem-solving process is a component. Collaborative and team-based decision-making to determine which students need intervention. So before we even figure that out, we have to work together, right, to take a look at data. Here we are, evaluating interpretation of data to determine student progress and action steps. Communication and collaboration, being focused on building relationships, using the data to do that, to improve the relationships. Capacity building. With the iCare program, we not only try to build capacity within the district, but also to assist with capacity building in the community, because we want our students to feel comfortable making healthy choices and to be resilient, as we talked about before, being able to bounce back from situations that are maybe not normal for them, and to also be able to have healthy coping skills, not unhealthy coping skills. So that capacity building, professional development and coaching, along with written plans within the building. Also leadership, active involvement in administration of practices. And so with that leadership component, looking at that, taking a look at what makes an effective leader versus ineffective leaders. I know somebody put that they lead from behind. And so even being able to say that I'm a really good caboose. I am somebody who, I may not be the leader at the front of the ship, but I am somebody at the very back taking a look at what you're doing right, how you are motivating those to move forward, and how you can glow and grow. So I really appreciate this framework. All right. What is multi-tier systems of support? So academic behavioral interventions. We also talked about looking at SEL and including that wellness component. Whole school data-driven prevention-based framework. Keyword again, prevention, right? For improving learning outcomes for all students through a layered continuum of evidence-based practices. Those layers there. Some students may need more than others. So being able to say, being able to identify those challenges, what they need, and fulfilling that obligation, whatever it is. And I love this last part, a combination of SEL and PBIS. In the chat, tell me how you feel about PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Support. Let me know how you feel about PBIS, either in your district or in your classroom. How do you feel about PBIS? This is just my own personal poll here. And the reason I'm looking around the screen is I keep moving you all around on mine. Anybody? How do you feel about PBIS?
If it's used correctly, it can have great benefits for teachers and students, says Inky. Nicole, if it's planned out, communicated effectively and consistent, it is great.
Yes. And so I'm going, Desiree, I hope you don't mind me reading between the lines. I think we have all encountered situations and challenges with PBIS maybe being just done because it's an acronym and it's cool and it's done other places, right? And so that can be very cumbersome for teachers, for the district, and even for students who, if you have PBIS rewards and students aren't able to get those rewards, and they may feel less than, right? So I found it interesting here that it says a combination of SEL and PBIS. And so in order for us to know what to do, we have to be able to evaluate what has worked, what is working, and what will work, right? And that means having conversations in the classroom with our students, making them a part of the stakeholder process, and also having conversations with our leaders so that they can understand from their standpoint what needs to happen on the ground. Okay. Did anybody else add anything, Desiree?
Yes, Lisa said that she teaches many grad students who love it and many who hate it.
Yeah. Lisa, that's correct. So that's why I asked how you felt about it. So thank you for being transparent about that. Okay. So here we have, I love this graphic, the actual tiers. And so we have academics, behavior, and wellness. I found one with wellness in it because I love holistic wellness, Desiree. And so this says MTSS triangle consists of 3 tiers. All tiers. Teachers monitor students' response to core instruction and interventions. But if I could add to that, I would like to say, but everybody has to be a part of universal, tier 2 targeted, and tier 3 intensive interventions for all 3. They have to be a part of the conversations. I know it says teachers monitor the students' responses, but we need everybody at the table to be able to be a part of the decision-making process so that it works for the students. And then we can all monitor what goes on. And so with universal, which is the green area, that would be about 90 to 100% of every student in the building being able to get those particular resources, curriculum support, activities. For us at iCare, we do something like Red Ribbon Month. And so everybody would get those preventative educational resources. Then for tier 2 targeted, a smaller group, if I had to say, I'd say probably about 30 to maybe 10 to 30% targeted interventions where you'd have small group settings, classroom presentations, or classroom interventions, like maybe a class would do mindfulness and some meditation or yoga for kids. And then that tier 3 would be intensive interventions, 10% or lower, 1-to-1, targeted, being able to identify what is working, what can I help you with academics, the behavior, or the overall wellness specifically. And so do we have any questions about this graphic? But I love that it had wellness on it, so I had to share it. Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And so here I wanted to get some of your examples, right? So tier 1, we talked about universal school-based prevention and universal interventions for the entire campus. Tier 2, targeted. And then tier 3, intensive. Can somebody share with me something, and you can unmute if you like, something that you all are doing that you really, really enjoy in any of these tiers? Or if you're not doing any of it, feel free to unmute if you can and share with us. Don't be shy, please. We're family.
I had to click the button, but they can unmute now.
Okay. All right. Feel free to unmute now if you like. And Aaron, I know you're on here if you wanted to share anything that you really like that we do. Anybody?
Yeah, it looks like Darlene is unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Oh.
We have tier 2 at our school, and we do check-in and check-out, where the student comes to student services before and after class, and we kind of keep touch base with them and find out what they're going to do in that class and if they need any help that day.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing. And so hearing that makes me feel good, because if I'm a student and I check in early in the morning and I've had something happen at home, I know that when I come to you, number one, you want to know more about what's going on. You want to know how I'm doing. I'm going to be very honest with you about what I've gone through, and then checking in at the end of the day if something has happened at school, right? Something beyond the control of my parents, but it's happened during the day, you would be there to support me and check in. So I absolutely love that you're doing that twice a day, not just in the morning or not just in the afternoon, but you're doing it when they get there and then after. And so that's a great example of a tier 2 targeted group intervention, school-based support. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
We have Aaron next.
Yes, Aaron, my supervisor and friend.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning. I was just gonna say, Tanya, that this year in EBR we instituted a system where we do a daily check-in. And so that sort of helps us, or kind of was helping us to understand where a young person was and then where they fit in those tiers. So it sort of was like a universal, it was on the universal level, just the survey. But then, the teacher that was given the survey could then determine what, like, do they need group intervention? So do they need a targeted intervention, or do they need a more intensive intervention, or do they just need someone to talk to at that very moment? So I feel like that was a great start for us in EBR. We've done a lot of things in EBR, as you know. I mean, of course, you work with us, but I think that was something that we had never really explored. And I think many people used it and were able to get a gauge on not just their students, but also in their classroom, to create that positive culture. Because I think if you start with that and you start to ask kids how they feel, and they start having those conversations, then it helps to create that positive climate and culture, because they know that you care.
Yes, thank you, Erin. And so she, again, somebody who must have seen my PowerPoint, she's talking about climate and culture and setting that tone. And so I think that that's amazing. I also want to say that even though you talked about starting with tier 1 and doing a check-in, check-out universally, is that a word, Desiree? Universally, you're able to identify what students would need what particular tiered interventions, right? And so I think, Aaron, it also helped with the teachers, because we're asking students how they're feeling. It also kind of put administrators and leaders on the map, something that Aaron did really well for us in opening up that check-in, check-out for the students. She opened her door to the staff and the principals and the teachers and said, if you need interventions, if you need somebody to talk to, we are here for you as well. And so I think that has helped build relationships throughout the district when we talk about SEL for educators. Would you agree with that, Aaron?
Oh, definitely. Do y'all hear me? Let's see.
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear
All
me?
right.
No,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was gonna say we have to, in order for our teachers and our support staff to be there for our young people, we have to be there. Somebody has to be there for them. We have to sow seeds into them. We have to make sure they're okay too. So going into this next school year, I just want to make a point going into this next school year. I think that it's really important for us to make sure after, because this pandemic has lasted so long and it has affected so many people. And I think that it's really important. And we will be working on a plan to keep our teachers, to check in with our teachers as well on a consistent basis. I think we do it, but I would love to see it done in a way that everybody's doing it at every school.
Wow. And so that's going into what we're talking about. So thank you so much, Erin. That is amazing. And so would anybody else like to share what they're doing in their district or in their classroom with tier 2, tier 3, or tier 1? Or with community partnerships even, right? And if not, we will continue to go on. So here, we actually are using the Castle SEL framework. Social emotional learning is the way that both students and adults learn and practice the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary. And so we talked about multi-tier systems, but within that, right, we talk about the behavioral and the wellness. All of those areas can and will benefit by applying social and emotional learning practices. And so the components, according to Castle, this is a framework. You can find this online. And Desiree does an awesome job of asking me for resources, and teachers and educators, we love things we can click, we can use, we can apply, even handouts. So it is in the resource list if you need it later on. We have self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, right? And so how can that be applied? Well, in the classrooms through curriculum and instruction. So the iCare program has specific curriculums like Second Step, Mind Yeti, Too Good for Drugs and Violence. So how can it be applied through the school setting, through school-wide practices and policies that include the students' voices, the parents' voices, the teachers' voices, right? And then home and communities. I love that that's included there because we need complete wraparound services, not just something that happens at school in the classroom. It also needs to be reiterated for home and community life. So family and community partnerships. People, for us in Baton Rouge, we have like BREC, the YMCA, a community coalition called the Gardeer Initiative, which Gardeer is a specific area in Baton Rouge. They have an initiative that helps to facilitate anti-violence, anti-drug use, anti-alcohol, they modify when we find challenges in the community, kids who can't cross a road because it's a highway, they don't have stop signs or lights. They take the initiative to go and talk to lawmakers for the safety and the well-being of our kids in our community. So making sure that we're tying all these things together is so important. All right. I found this graphic. I love it. And I had to share it. So with this, it says, what is social emotional learning? Excuse me. Respect, empathy, being able to say, if I put myself in your shoes, how would I feel? Being more self-aware. And with that, I want to add more confident about who you are, the way you look, the way you feel, and being able to communicate that. Collaboration, being able to work together as a team. Being motivated, just finding that internal ability to be able to be motivated, not just extrinsically, but intrinsically, right? Social engagement, identifying problems and analyzing situations, being aware of what makes you trigger. We talked about triggers in trauma last time, right? Desiree, being able to identify certain triggers and certain problems, and then saying what I can do to combat that. How can I adjust certain things, or how can I remove myself from situations that are overwhelming for me? Ethical responsibility. We talked about culture and climate, being aware of different groups of people, what may not make them feel comfortable and what may make them feel comfortable, and having tough conversations, especially right now with civil unrest and what we see on TV, the news. It is definitely affecting our youth, and it affects our educators, whether we talk about it or not, it is. And then international mindedness. Again, being able to say, I am aware, I'm in the present moment, but I also want to respect others in the same just way. Okay. All right. So why SEL? Why SEL? Desiree, I'm going to have you read these for me. I'm going to call on you like you're my student. Why SEL, Desiree?
Well, go ahead. Building a culture and climate for success on site. Am I going down or across? I'm going to go down. Impact for long-term and global. Can help reduce poverty, improve economic mobility, leads to academic outcomes and improved behaviors, 11-to-1 return on investment, and improves lifetime outcomes.
Yes, I wanted to change your voice, but I appreciate you for reading number one. Number two, all of these things and more are why SEL is important. Some of the things that I love are improves lifetime outcomes. Yes, we have our students with us for a year or 4 years, depending on, or 3 years, depending on what area you teach, right? Or you are an administrator of, but we want our students to make healthy and safe lifetime choices and have outcomes that benefit not only their academic success, but their behavioral success and also their mental and emotional wellness, because they're all tied together, right? We want improved behaviors, like Desiree said. We want to create a safe climate for them wherever they are, whether it's on a college campus, whether it's just them in their room and in their space, right? Like I talk about my friend, my little plant Leroy here. When I see him, this environment feels safe to me. It also feels really, really good because I picked the color that I'm in tune with. So even setting up a mindful environment for safety can be a part of a sensational SEL practice, right? Impacting long-term and global changes, and also helping to reduce poverty and improve economic mobility. Because if our students are comfortable with themselves, making healthy choices, thriving academically, in tune with their community and their families, being able to communicate to us whether they feel well or they don't feel well, able to self-regulate, right? Then that will trickle down the line for them being confident in a job interview, being able to create and submit a resume that is outstanding, and be able to hold a job, thrive with family life, make healthy choices, therefore helping economic mobility, right? And so we are definitely, like I think it was Izzy or Liz that said, they don't lead by the front, they lead by the back. Well, you are one heck of a caboose pusher when we're pushing our students to make these sensational choices in life so that they can have wonderful longevity, right? So I think that is amazing and such a bigger picture. Last month, we talked about trauma. And so I wanted to bring my friend the avocado back up because Desiree, I'm trying to eat more healthy fats. And so I keep thinking about this avocado, right? The outer peel, what people see on the outside. Often bumps, but otherwise I'm fine. The squishy goo, feelings, all of the feelings, plus mental health symptoms, somatic symptoms, triggers, like we talked about earlier, disassociation, and then the pit, traumatic memories and beliefs about self or a world that are based in trauma and shame. And so we talked last month about trauma, triggers, and being resilient. And so you're probably like, why did she bring this up during SEL? Well, I brought it up because right now we're all going through trauma, whether you know it or not. And so if we as adults are all going through trauma, our students are all going through trauma. Our parents are going through trauma. It may not be active trauma, but it's trauma. And so being able to take a look at this avocado and name it one of your favorite students or even yourself. For me, the outer peel is what you see. You see somebody smiling, somebody happy and fine. But on the inside, I'm concerned about my own children. I'm concerned about the students I work with. I'm concerned about my family, my mom who's on here. I love you, Mom. I'm concerned about am I doing everything I'm supposed to do right? And if I fall short, and then also certain triggers I still have that I'm dealing with. And then of course the pit. Well, why do I have triggers? Because I have memories of trauma. I have memories of Katrina. I have memories of, having COVID and being really, really sick and not knowing whether if I laid down to go to sleep, if I'd wake back up, right? And so making sure that our students feel comfortable talking about their fears, talking about their feelings, and not rooting them in an environment of shame and seclusion. I think earlier somebody said making sure that when a student comes to you, that your reaction is non-judgmental. I love that. That is a part of being more mindful, as we talked about months before, making sure that our students are comfortable in being aware of their feelings and also giving them non-judgmental reactions, conversations is beautiful. Would anybody like to add what you think about this particular graphic in the realm of SEL? Is this beneficial to think about? Is this something that you think all educators, administrators, leaders, whether it's elementary, middle, high, or on a college campus should know? Or is this just something I made up myself? What do you think?
Hello.
Hello.
I think it's great. I teach kindergarten. I can truly see the difference how some are in class and some are not. They're really being affected by not being in school.
Yeah.
They are really want to be there because they see the other friends and they're also lacking because they're not coming. And it just takes so much out of kindergarten, their first year not being there. And it just breaks my heart. And that's a great example because on the outside, I'm here, but inside, I'm missing so much. So great example.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you for sharing. And you joined us before, Ms. Golden, so I appreciate you. So with that, I love that you said you're thinking about your students, but then you also said how that makes you feel, right? And so it's important for you to be able to identify that you also feel a way about missing them, not being with you in person, especially teaching those little ones. I have a kindergartner and she currently is home with me virtually for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And her not being able to step foot in her class is traumatizing for her. She has certain feelings that we're trying to work through and process and talk about. And so I appreciate you for sharing that. And I hope that when we look at our students and ourselves, we are better able and better equipped to take a look at the avocado and what we can do to kind of pull ourselves out of those feelings, or at least kind of think about sensational things we can do to make ourselves feel better, right? The self-care that we talked about earlier. Anybody else?
We have some comments in the chat that this is definitely useful for everyone. And Janice says this graphic helps me remember that we are multidimensional and it takes time to get to the pit.
It does. Oh, I love that. I love the multidimensional part. Thank you for sharing that. So we are better together, right? A trauma-informed approach to social emotional learning. So I love this graphic. Desiree, it is in the resources. I'm going to take a look at the first one. For under social emotional competencies, facilitate personal understanding and awareness. Well, what does that look like for students who may need more from being affected by trauma, right? Develop connections between emotions and behavior, manage distrust and suspicion, and then reduce perceptions of danger. And so the conversation I had with my husband last night is that sometimes when we go and we meditate with students, I notice when I say close your eyes, be prepared to take a deep breath in and out, certain students do not want to close their eyes, right? So in my early years of teaching, I would think that would be disrespectful. Or I would think that would be a situation where you just didn't want to listen to me, or, being very honest, very transparent, you just didn't want to obey, right? But what I've come to find out is that certain students, when they close their eyes, things have happened to them. People who they have trusted have done things that have not been safe and not been appropriate and not respected their space. So they may not want to close their eyes. So being able to reduce perceptions of danger for our students who have gone through trauma couldn't be a part of a social emotional learning process for them, right? I see somebody else said something. Let's see here.
We're just saying, that's so true. We never thought about it that way.
Yeah, definitely. So I have this list for you. I want you to take a look at it at your own leisure, but it's really, really good just to tie in social emotional to trauma. The last part says build social awareness and relational skills. And so building problem solving skills. What we have come to know in our adult life is problems don't go away. What starts to happen is our ability to be resilient, to be able to cope, and how to handle them. Very early on, we talked about the control circles. What can I control versus what I cannot control? And when I can't control something, what can I do about it that is still healthy and safe for me to get through the tough situation? And so I loved this graphic. So I'm sharing resources with you. All right. Teacher techniques. Breathe. Right? That's where we love to breathe. I know you like to practice it. So let's do it together. You don't have to share your screen or show your camera, but I do want you to breathe with me. I would love for you just to sit up here, shoulders down, kind of lift your chin a little bit to a 90-degree angle. You can place your feet flat on the floor wherever you are. Even if you have a nice cup of coffee or a donut, I really want a donut. Move it to the side, put your hands flat. And I want you to breathe slowly in through your nose for me. And exhale out nice and slow. Making sure that you can hear the breath and getting all of the excess air out. Deep breathing in again. And exhale out nice and slow. And one more time. Breathing in through your nose. And out through your mouth. Very good. And thank you for doing that with me, right? We do a lot all the time, and we need to take the time to breathe.
I didn't realize I needed that so much.
Who said that? Yes.
Nicole.
Nicole, yes, you needed that. You know why?
Why? I'm listening.
Because we don't take the time to do it.
Exactly.
We're sitting in traffic trying to get to work on time, buckling up with a cup of coffee, running into the school, signing in because you better sign in, and then making sure you're getting your kids together and you want to be the best person you could be for them, and you didn't even stop to breathe. So I appreciate you breathing with me this morning. I really do. I needed it myself. Let's go ahead and take another one, Nicole, just for time's sake. Breathe in and exhale out. That's what I'm talking about. I love that. And if you like that breathing, Nicole, commercial break. Next month, Desiree, come comfortable because we're going to do a lot of that. As school ends this semester, we're going to go ahead and engage ourselves in mobility and mindfulness movements. Okay, so here's some teacher techniques. Build relationships organically and build trust. Our students are really, really smart. I taught high school for a very long time, and they knew when I was up to something, when I was being sneaky, when I had ulterior motives. I don't know how, but they know. So we want to build relationships organically. Incorporating mindfulness and gratitude in the classroom. We talked about building a culture of gratitude and making sure that we are sharing things to be grateful for with them and asking them that question as well. Promoting responsibility, choice, and self-reflection. I love a bell ringer where you're just asking them, give me an example of when you made a mistake and how did you correct it, right? Let's talk about that. Model the behaviors you want to see and be human. We talked about that earlier, group. The word human. They're watching everything that we do. And especially when we talk about our littles, they will model the behaviors that we model for them. Reframing our thoughts and perceptions of students and experiences, making sure that we are not labeling our kids. We talked about adverse childhood experiences, what some of our students look like, what they've been through, and sometimes we project our feelings of them onto them, and then they give us those behaviors back because we've projected it, right? So making sure that we are, every day is a new day for a student. And then of course, my last one, I love it. Play, yes, play. Yesterday, one of my elementary schools had a pep rally, and I put a little headband on and got dressed up, had my kindergarten next to me, and we danced the entire time. Now, should Miss Griffin probably be dancing there? No, I probably shouldn't, but I am human. I like a good time, and my students do too. So make sure that we are playing. This quote, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. It's just that. So when I get to 10,001, maybe it's a way that will work, right? Making sure we have that resilient mindset. The brain plus the heart equals that light bulb going off, the intellect, relationships, okay?
And Inky says she loves that quote.
Inky, thank you, Inky. My husband said, he was like, I told him last night, I said, hey, I like this quote. He was like, you're not going to go deeper than that? No, man, that's it. I've not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. I'm just going to get back up, dust myself off again, show my students that I too can try again, and I want them to try again. Keep trying. We'll eventually get there. And part of the fun is the journey. That's another one. All right, intervention practice. Empathy exercise, self-talk superhero, feelings journal, temperature check. The self-talk superhero is one I want to dive in quickly. Pretty much affirmations. We've talked about mantras and affirmations before. Affirming that you are a superhero. You are amazing at everything you do. Using the word sensational sounds good, right? Right. I am a sensational educator. I'm not just a good educator. I'm not just a great educator. I am a sensational educator. Doesn't that sound good to you? So imagine what that feels like for our students to say something like, I am a math superhero. I can do hard things. The first time I heard my kindergartner say I can do hard things, I wanted to cry because I was like, girl, you can. You are like amazing. You are a math phenomenon. And she's like, what? Mommy, I can do hard things. Oh my goodness. So making sure that we are building that into our students so that when they have hard things come up and they're not successful, they don't quit. They don't cry. They don't walk away from it. They say, I'll eventually get it. It'll just be 10,001, but I'll figure it out, right? How good does that feel for you to be able to know that you have helped plant that seed and watered it, even in the midst of a pandemic, right? Good news, having support systems, offering positive and constructive feedback, and of course, 2-word check-ins. I'm well, not good, I'm sick. And these intervention practices are also included in your resource list, okay? All right, anything in the chat, Desiree, that I should know about?
Inky said that students appreciate when you fail and get back up and try again with a smile on your face.
That's right, Inky. That's right. And so we also want to provide parent support. Why should we provide it? Because now our parents are elbow teachers. Like I said, I'm home with mine for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And some students have not returned at all. So we need our elbow teachers to be informed and do the best that they can do. But we have to support them in that. Benefits the whole child, even at home, and empowers the family to continue what they're learning at school. Benefits for community and school climate. Long-term healthy and safe decisions. We talked about this. Coping skills, being resilient, being able to bounce back, supporting the economy, and of course, a culture of gratitude. If you haven't seen, if you were not able to attend that particular presentation, it is on Desiree's YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. How can we provide? We want to engage stakeholders, having effective communication strategies to use at home, and being consistent. Being consistent. All right, risk factors. All right, this is some information from SAMHSA because I'm a prevention specialist. We deal a lot with risk factors and protective factors, right? So risk factors are levels or items of things or people or places or things that our students have that increase the likelihood of negative outcomes. So a risk factor for our students could be living in an area where it's high crime, right? Or a family member who does drugs and alcohol in front of the child. That increases the likelihood of a negative outcome for that student, something that's become normal. right? And then, of course, protective factors. We as educators are protective factors. Protective factors can be seen as positive countering events. You have somebody who genuinely cares about you. You attend an after-school program. You may have family members and community members who support you spiritually, right? You have parents in the home who do not do drugs and alcohol. So just taking a look at how we can help students identify what are risk factors versus what are protective factors and serve as a very consistent protective factors for them. All right, I love this graphic from last time as well. School and family connections in adolescence is linked to positive health outcomes in adulthood. This middle part, again, school and family connections working together to help protect youth. Students are less likely, up to 60% less likely to have mental health issues, experience violence, engage in risky sexual behavior, or use substances. Think about that. You being a focused SEL educator helps students not have mental health issues, not experience violence, not engage in risky sexual behavior, put themselves in situations for things to occur, and not use substances. I think that is amazing. And that data comes from the CDC. Interventions that I have used, some of them with you all, meditation and yoga, even at your chair, right? And we'll do that next month. Mind Yeti and Second Step curriculums. I did place those links there with the eye care program. We do use those. Mind Yeti right now has a free, I think it's 6-week curriculums where you have access to YouTube lessons and sounds like soft white noise for your classes. It's great. Breath work and mindful practices, reminding students to focus on the present moment. And then self-regulation strategies, like providing clear expectations, writing them down, keeping a positive environment, and of course, that non-judgmental feedback. And here is a simple early learner check-in sheet that I found. See the clip there? I feel shy or worried. And that is a great conversation starter with the little one. Being able to say, you put on your clip today that you're feeling shy or worried. Why are you worried? Because worry could be, it's supposed to rain today. And the last time it rained, my house flooded, right? Who knew that was coming, right? Or I feel irritated or frustrated. Well, I feel irritated today because when I came to school, my mom and dad didn't put any underwear on me. I just have pants on and I don't want anybody to know. And that takes you to another level of conversation and support for that student, right? So just thinking about these things, feel free to use, again, in the resource list. SEL for educators, all right? 5 high leverage practices. Data has shown that SEL for students can increase academic success, behavioral success, and wellness when it's also used in collaboration when we focus on the wellness of teachers. They just found that out, huh? So here we are. SEL for the educator, to help educators establish balance and boundaries, to examine identities, for the educator to be able to take a look at himself or herself and say, I don't feel comfortable right now because this is happening in the world, or I need to have a conversation about, my trauma with the pandemic, or my trauma with the flood or with a hurricane, before I can even teach these kids, and being supported in doing so, not being just pushed into the classroom or the job and saying, you still just need to do this job. No, because we all need to be able to process our trauma and have tough conversations to get through situations, to be better educators, to be able to explore our emotions, to cultivate compassionate curiosity amongst each other with your colleagues, and also to orient towards optimism, even in the face of adversity. Okay? All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if anybody said anything else. Okay. Oh, Desiree's putting things in the chat, y'all. All right. So here we are. SEL for the educator, prioritizing educator well-being. How do we do that? We manage stress and embody creativity and support. We have a mindset reset and opportunities to do so even in our systems, in our classroom, in our staff meetings, and we model SEL for students. making sure that if you're an administrator, that you actually care about the overall well-being of all of your adults in the building. Let me say that again. If you're an admin, making sure that you care about the overall well-being of all of the adults in the building, right? Cafeteria workers, your cleanup staff, your bus drivers, checking in with everybody, especially right now, because then that will lead to building trust. And so I picked this particular graphic because all of these statues are different. They're having to deal with different elements. You have some mountains, you have the water, you have the grass, the two people standing there looking. And I feel like those two people, like our students, they're looking at us like, oh my goodness, these are my teachers. And I look up to them. They're all different. They've all been through quite a lot, but we still look up to them and we respect them. And so we have to take care of one another. All right. Relaxation techniques that we will go through next month. Breath focus, body scanning, finding out where we have tension, because this is what we need to do to be social emotional learning efficient for one another, is actually doing relaxation techniques and focusing on them. Guided imagery, mindfulness meditation. We're going to do some chair yoga, and then we're going to do some repetitive mantras and affirmations. If you are one who is spiritual, feel free to do repetitive prayer. And I want to make sure I put that on there as just some tips if you want to look into those. But we will cover all of those next month. All right. Relaxation and resilience tie in together. We've been talking about our students being resilient, but guess who's resilient? Superheroes. You are. You are still here. We are still working and giving 150% for our students, but we also need to give 150% to ourselves. This is a time for radical self-care because we want to continue to be resilient. We want to continue to be primed and ready for things that are thrown and tossed our way. We talk about the school year ending, and with that comes challenges, right? And the school year restarting will come challenges. It's testing time. My kiddos start LEAP on Monday, and I have anxiety, Desiree. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to take time to breathe, Nicole. I'm going to have a nice hot cup of tea with turmeric and hopefully some lemon in it and some raw honey, and just breathe it in. I'm going to call my mom and have her give me some inspirational words and tell me I'm a superhero. And then on Monday, I'm going to be the very best I can for my virtual learner and support my testing students as well. All right, and final slide. Again, my name is Tanya Chapman Griffin. I am an eye care specialist. I am here if you need additional resources or information. The resource list will be coming your way from Desiree. Make sure you do the evaluation. I know we got through a lot of information, but I wouldn't be able to do this without giving it to you. I had to give you all that, and I had more, but I had to trim it down. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Desiree, what's going on next month?
Next month on May 15th is your next session.
Yes.
And I'll put the link in the chat.
Yes. So I have time for some questions if you don't mind, maybe 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Any questions, you can still hop on the mic.
Hello.
Hi, I work with high school students, and I was wondering, have you ever had the experience where you used the things that were geared more towards the small people to use in the high school classroom? Has that been successful?
Yes, ma'am. So 2 different things. So I actually taught high school for about 7 years post-Katrina. And my husband currently teaches high school, and we both use things that are geared towards the littles. So in your resource list, you will see something called Cosmic Kids Yoga. This is just one particular instance. And she actually does different stories for little kids. One of them is like Anna and Elsa, and she talks about Anna and Elsa are, in Arendelle, and it's really, really cold, right? And they're shivering. And so at first, the high school students are kind of like, this is crazy. But then they wind up loving it, and then finding out that it helps them relax, get their wiggles out, like we say for the little kids. And then they want to do it and they like it, because you can continue to do that maybe every Friday. So something as small as getting them interested in yoga, or interested in a mindful practice can be helpful. My husband actually does 5 minutes of meditation every day as part of their bell ringer to get them to kind of like reset and cleanse their mind. And then they start doing their assignments. And in the beginning, probably about a week or 2 weeks, they'd be like, oh, this is, but now they love it and they look forward to it. And as soon as he puts on the meditation music or white noise, they are completely engaged. And it's amazing to watch with students that you would not think would like it. And they are high school students. So yes, if you are led to try Mind Yeti, if you are led to do a check-in system with the high schoolers, I say go for it. Absolutely. And thank you for that question. You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, not a question, but a comment I'd like to add to that. So, I'm the young gentleman that Miss Griffin was talking about earlier. I'm Tanya's husband, and I just wanted to say, like, for the high school teacher. So what I do with my students is I call it 5 minutes of stillness, and what that does, that kind of covers the basis of people who, like, they believe in the process of meditation. They don't believe. We're not trying to, like, bump anybody's, spiritual beliefs, but there are 2 requirements. And the first one is silence. And the second one is stillness. And that's it. That's how you get your grade. So if you're silent and you're still, you're in. And then over time, you'll see the buy-in. So the first time it's going to be kind of funny. It's going to be kind of weird. People are going to get to laughing and giggling. By the 3rd, 4th time you do it, you start seeing students coming up to you saying, "Hey man, are we doing meditation today? Mr. Griffin, we doing meditation? Oh, you forgot, So it's very rewarding, and it's rewarding to see the impact that it has on students' lives, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well.
Yes. Okay. So, and I appreciate you sharing that. So my reminder is he didn't say close your eyes, right? We put that stipulation on our students for what we expect out of them. And so he says, just be still and just be silent. Right. And so, Mr. Griffin, have you seen relationship building happen because you've had the buy-in in that trust?
I definitely, more than definitely. I mean, you have kids who, I have bonded with based on meditation alone, based on the fact that we have that special time. And then, so when something happens outside of classroom, or maybe in the classroom, and then I can tell her, hey, everybody stop, let's reset, pause. Okay, let's talk about it, or let's pause. Let's take a deep breath. Everybody already knows what that means. I have all kind of like little, I guess I call them shortcuts that I use in my class. So like reset buttons. So there's a thing I do I say pap pap. And when I do that, everybody claps twice and puts their hand in the air. And I can just always reset. But they just come with, like, I guess, trial and error, number one. And then number 2, with setting the space, like you talked about earlier, setting the environment to a place where everyone kind of understands, like, this is what we do here, this is what we don't do, and we're open to everyone's beliefs or everybody's approach to the situation, because there's always a way to come to an agreement without things going left, basically.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And the thought that comes to my mind is we are incorporating really No Child Left Behind, right? There's no child left behind. I think it was Lisa or Izzy again. I can't remember which one said it about being the caboose, being the person who pushes from the back. And we are not leaving any child behind, because we are incorporating social and emotional learning, because before they can have academic success, we have got to connect with them on another level for their complete wellness. Complete wellness. And I even venture to say, in the school of Tanya Chapman Griffin world, I'm going to say, before we can have behavioral academic success at this point, we've got to tap into the mental and emotional wellness before they can even move forward, because we've gone through so much. And so, Desiree, I appreciate you. I think I've held up your time. So if anybody doesn't have any more questions or comments, thank you so much, Ontario, for sharing. Thank you, Aaron, for coming on as my program director. And thank you, Dr. Desiree Alexander, for having me again on your platform. I love you and I thank you so much.